Welcome to video 5. And this might be the video. This might be the one where those tears come rolling in. If they do, they do. If they don't, I'm definitely holding them in. Okay? So I'm dedicating this video to my revelation, to my wake-up call, to this connection, to me, to everything that has been going on, to how different things I experienced was impacting the connection. And his experiences and so forth. But I'm sticking to what happened with me. And again, like I mentioned before, his part is up to him to explain if he chooses to. Okay? All right. And so, people would say, how does a twin flame hurt their other partner? How can they not see this connection? How can they not feel the importance? Like, how on earth are they running away from it? And so on. Like, if this is such a divine connection, how does that happen? I will have to tell you from my experience, it's because the universe blocks information and reveals it in divine timing. So when you think your twin flame partner is seeing things the way that you're seeing it, and so on, it may not be the case. When you're thinking that your twin flame partner really understands this connection the way you do, it may not be the case. And that kind of stuff. Yes, it is one soul, but I truly believe the universe does certain things to help shape each person in this connection. It's just my belief. All right. And then I'll go more into why I believe that. And because of that is one of the reasons why I really believe in forgiving your twin flame. Okay. For what they do not know, what they cannot see, and so forth, because they really can't see it. So this is my revelation. How the universe began to show me so much of this connection, and boy, the tears keep on rolling. The tears kept on rolling. All right, so my first revelation was with this video, because my twin and I had left video messages for each other. And during the time I hadn't heard from him, I would watch the videos and that kind of stuff. It really made it felt like he was talking to me. Okay, when I'm looking at him, he's looking at me in these videos, and he's talking to me. And then that would change later, when the universe was just like, it's time for reunion. I'm telling you, every opportunity to see him, hear from him, whatever, got ripped away. But at the time, I had access to the videos. And then there was this one particular video. He said, I felt your energy leave. And this was before I knew about energy, before I was feeling things and my psychic abilities had increased and everything. He was already feeling energy. And I watched this video, and it really didn't ring a bell to me until this one particular moment. Broke my heart. He felt when I left. I was like, oh my God, I left. This was when I began to connect the dot. I left. During the times when I didn't hear from him, didn't know that we were going to reconnect, and so on, I ran around with the story that I was the chaser. I don't believe in those terminologies, really. It's all about energy. But this was my belief at that time. This was before I began to understand what was really happening here. I was like, I chased. He left. He ran. I actually went with this story for years. I was like, he left me. I couldn't see the truth. All I saw was my pain. I was in intense pain. I cried so much. I wanted so much from this connection. I wanted him to show up. I was selfish, greedy, for attention, for time, that was all that I saw. That was all that I saw. I didn't see where I left without saying anything to him about it. I just simply left. Okay? More than once. And when I woke up to this, I cried. I was like, oh my God. Yes, I was in pain, but I also inflicted pain on him. And then I began to realize, not just realize, I was working with an energy healing friend of mine who does Akashic records, and uncovered that I didn't just run in this lifetime, but in several lifetimes before. It became a pattern where it was showing up constantly. Okay? And then the universe had me watch back-to-back psychic readings. Like, I was guided to watch these readings as they unfold what was really happening, what had happened when I left, what happened with him. So the universe gave me the story, okay? And also provided me with visions. And so just like I was in intense pain and crying, it was mutual. It was reciprocated, and I had visions of where he was as well, you know? And through this, I began to understand the running, appeared running, and what looked like rejecting. Even though it's a mirror, there's always a reason, you know? There's a mirror, but there's an underlying reason. And I began to understand that he did not trust me. Okay? That opportunity was gone in that moment. All right? And I understood. And I was like, you know, would you trust someone who shows up and disappears without a trace and so forth? So how do you believe that this person is going to show up and actually stay and not leave and inflict this intense amount of pain? Because it was very painful. Every single time we parted ways, the pain was intense. Okay? The universe came to a point where they said to me, you can't leave again. All right? Once the two of you are together physically, you cannot leave again, because he's not going to take you back again. And so I had to figure out how to stop running. All right? And then, and it's two ways. It's two ways. It is, I would say, with the running energy, because it's real, there's a running energy. It's like, I don't feel good enough for this person. I don't feel, whatever the case, you know, it goes both ways. And I can explain more of that. It goes both ways, but I truly believe it just takes one person to figure it out, and the other one mirrors it. And so the universe was telling me and sending me messages and so on. And even my twin's higher self came through at some point and said, you know what? I don't trust you. I don't trust that you're not going to leave again. I began to realize that this is something that I had to work on. How was I going to stop leaving when the going gets tough? Because in all my previous relationships, it's like when things got tough, I had the exit in mind. I was there. I was very faithful. I was not a ghosting person. You know, I poured my heart out. My heart was on the table. But when things seemed like they weren't going my way, there was this constant, how do I leave? I don't want to be here. And so forth. And in this connection, I came to realize just having those thoughts, can't have a connection with those thoughts. And so now I had to figure out, how do I stop doing that? Okay? And I would say that I came up with strategies for it that were really helpful. But there were many times I said, you know what? I'm not leaving. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to be here. I'm not going anywhere. And the universe was like, yeah, right. Yeah, right, 𝐿. I was like, what are you guys talking about? They're like, yeah, right. They knew. They knew. And then the visions came. Boy, oh my God. Talk about the visions. And so by this point, I was working as a twin flame coach. I had surrendered to my mission. I was fully in it. And I came to this conclusion when I saw that there were so much pain in the journey. And I was in these groups, and the people, I mean, not to throw anyone under the bus, but people were complaining and there were no answers for them. And I was reading horrible stories that were happening to people, and I said, you know what? I gotta do this. I need to do this. And so on. And I totally dived into it, but not yet with my twin flame connection, okay? Or I thought I did. And so I would hear from people, yeah, I can feel when my twin is with someone else. I have visions of them being with someone else. I hear them talking to other people. I would hear this stuff, but it wasn't happening to me. And I truly sympathized. And I was like, I can't imagine that. And then it happened to me. And I had a vision. The universe decided it was time to provide me with this vision where he was with someone else. And a psychic reading came after that and said, the reader said, you took too long. You took too long to, in other words, it was saying that I took too long to make the choice to choose union and to come into union. And so the universe brought someone into his life that he needed to have at that time because I was taking too long. I couldn't help myself. I was like, universe, you know the struggle I was having with believing, the struggle I was having with the connection I had with this person. I was trying everything, and I just couldn't seem to really bring myself to where I needed to be for this connection, okay? And you bring someone else into the picture. I was heartbroken. I was devastated. I felt like my heart was ripped out of my chest. I cried for days, and it was like a roller coaster of emotion. One moment I was okay, next moment I was not. Another moment I was like, all right, and then I was just like a hot mess. I was purging so much of, let me put it this way, the universe was breaking me down, was breaking my walls that I had in this connection, okay? And after the purging was over, I felt different. I moved into a place where I felt peace, and I began to understand why things were happening. I had more patience and so forth. But there was a time like he was with this person and I was being pulled into their connection and so forth. Awful feeling, awful feeling. But I began to understand what he went through, because I was beginning to realize that he was going through these things when I did not realize how much my own actions were impacting the connection. I didn't know. And when I went through the experience, I was like, oh my goodness, I do not wish this on my worst enemy. And it also woke me up to really just not doing this anymore. This whole running thing, I wanted to stop. I didn't want to have to be with anyone, intimate with someone else, and inflict pain. I got to see the pain I was inflicting. Because, you know, the universe will do these things. You have no clue and stuff. You have no clue. And now that I knew, I was like, I can't do that. It's awful. I hated going through it. And so I didn't want to inflict this. So this is when things began to change. Again, this person, my karmic soulmate, was still in the picture, and I was trying everything to be like, I don't want this. And the pull was still really strong. And it got to the point, I was like, I can't fight this. I can't fight my heart. And I wind up just giving in. And I was like, you know, I know what giving in was going to do. I know that my path wasn't going to be aligned, but I was going to take my chances. Okay. And there was a time the universe was like, you know, 𝐼𝐭𝐡, we support this connection. And I was like, y'all are lying. You're lying to me. How do you have me go through this tornado, get back to your twin thing? And now you're saying, karmic is all yours. Have a good time. I was like, you guys are up to something. That was one time. And then when I found my way, when I found again that I was just like, I can't fight this. I'm just going to accept, because it felt so much easier. And I knew what it would do to my connection with my twin flame. But I was like, I can't seem to fight this. And decided that I was going up against the universe again, because I know it wasn't a part of my path, but I was determined to make it work. I was like, I'm going to work so much harder. Everything is going to be pieced together. I'm going to do this. Okay. It took a matter of time where I started to see I wasn't winning. I was not winning. And this is the moment where I began to see the bigger picture here. I was like, you know what? This is out of my hands. This connection is out of my control, is out of anything, any expectation, anything. There is a much bigger thing going on here than me and my twin. It wouldn't allow me to connect with anyone else, whatever this was. And I began to see my path. Because whenever I chose this other person, I was out of alignment. And then when I chose my twin flame, I was in alignment. Couldn't win. I couldn't win moving away from my path. And I said, you know what? I have to surrender to this. I began to see the soul. This makes me teary just thinking about it. I began to see soul alignment and come to understand that's what's happening here. When I chose my twin flame, I was in alignment. Choosing a different path, I was not. And so then I began to open up to my karmic soulmate. And I said, you know what? I've been told you're not it. I was doing everything I can to just get rid of him and stuff like that. So I said, you know, God has told me that you're not my husband, someone else is. And he was like, do you really believe this? And stuff like that. And then he decided to work harder. But at this point, I was starting to see, I was beginning to learn another lesson. Why it was so hard and frustrating, and why I was so attached to this person. I began to learn about attachment. And it was because I had a need to feel attached. Final lesson. That was the final lesson. I finally learned why detaching from someone was really important and how much it took away from myself, because that's what I was really seeing. This journey was about me. And the moment I made that choice where I was like, it's about me, I started seeing all kinds of things. It felt like my world was shifting. Things were opening up for me and things like that. And the universe began to show me so much about the soul. And, you know, I watch videos, I watch twin flame videos and stuff, but the ones that are particularly about the soul began to make sense. When I got introduced to the soul, I understood. Okay? And then the universe began to show me energy. It was in different steps. When I first got started with my journey as a coach and a healer, I was introduced to childhood healing, shadow work, relationship, and now I got into, the universe brought me into the soul and energy and manifesting. It was revealing all these different things to me because I chose to align with my path. And so the other thing that I had done, the other revelation that occurred was when I decided to hire someone to help me see what I couldn't see in myself. Because for so many years, I lived in pain. I lived in suffering, but I wouldn't talk to anyone about it. I wouldn't tell people around me about it and that kind of stuff. I guess perhaps I was putting an image like I had it all together, or I really felt like no one cared. It was like when I expressed myself, I didn't feel heard. So what was the point? And then the danger in that was because it was that I began to hide myself from myself. And I started to realize that there was someone within me that wasn't getting acknowledged. And I didn't know how to acknowledge this person. It was like my first realization was when I was working with a client, and she heals healers. That's her gift. And so she flipped the table around and began to talk about me. And I felt something inside of me panic, like, oh, you see me. Oh my God, this thing inside of me panicked and was like, this person was afraid to be seen. And it just woke me up. I was like, what is that? So because I had relationships with narcissistic partners and so forth, I was like, you know what? It's time I get some help around us. I want to see what I can't see. And I hired someone, and it was the best thing I had done. The best thing I had done for myself. Okay? I was teaching the stuff, but like someone said, a friend of mine had said to me, a doctor cannot operate on themselves. And I hired this person, and it changed what I was seeing. It changed my practice and so on. I began to see how I ran away from my feelings. So when I had left my twin, the first time I had left, when I felt like I was a pain to him, I was in pain, and I didn't talk about it. I began to realize how there is this fear of going into the pain and being able to explain that causes certain runners to run. Okay? It's like, if I express this, I'm going to be judged. This person's not going to like me. They're going to reject me. There was this constant, I'm going to be rejected for what I'm truly feeling. And I didn't open up about it. And I walked away. And by doing that, you know, I wasn't always a ghoster. You might be like, oh, 𝐏𝐫𝐞𝐩𝐵, you're such an awful person, you know? You ghosted. I was not a ghoster. I was very loyal. At one point, I was really religious and that kind of stuff. But one thing I began to see is that whenever I said, I'm done, I don't want this anymore. This connection is not serving me. You know, I wouldn't quite use those words, but pretty much that's what was happening. The person would be like, I'll fix it. It's okay. I'm here for you. And then it'll be the same action again. Things just get repeated. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done. Don't worry. I'll do this. It got to the point where I was just like, it's easier for me to just leave because I didn't want the excuses. I was done and that kind of stuff. So that's really where that came from. But the universe stepped in and was just like, you're not ghosting. When you end a connection, you need to say something. You have to say something. Okay? And that was what I came to realize about myself, was that fear of opening up. And I had to learn how to open up. I did a lot of learning. I began to use the inner child healing. And it shifted so many things in my life. It changed a lot to where I started to really see myself. And this coach that I was working with was like, you're going to cry. I was like, I cry? Please. Actually, I do cry. In hiding. I wasn't letting people see that and stuff like that. And right after he said that in that session, right after, I cried for like a week. Boy, was I purging, okay? I was purging so much emotion, so much energy that was stored in my emotional body through the years of not saying anything, of not really expressing me. And I'm not talking about like surface level, like I don't feel good. I'm talking about the deep. It's like, I describe it as the thing that's hard to talk about. You know, everything else is okay to talk about. It's that very thing that's hard to talk about that just stays inside and doesn't get mentioned. And this was big for me. And I began to just tell everybody off. And it was new for me. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know how to stop myself. And you know what? They didn't judge me. And I was like, wow, I really stumbled across something really important here. They stopped judging because I was no longer judging me. Okay? And interesting enough, things started to shift again in my connection. And I won't explain the details here, but I felt it. I felt it. Where my twin was in my presence again, and I felt it. Because I began to realize that this connection was far bigger. It had a purpose. We affect one another a lot. And I want to go back to that a little bit. Another revelation that came to me is how much thoughts affect the connection, okay? So I had a hard time letting go of this karmic person, but it wasn't just me, okay? I know I said I'm not gonna go much into my twin flame, but I'll share a little bit, and I'm gonna put it in this way. Whenever you're thinking, I'm not sure if I'm good enough for this person, or maybe they like someone else better, and that kind of stuff, it pushes your twin flame in that direction. And so if it happens to you, your twin is like, you know, I really want to let go of this person and I don't know why I can't. Take a look inside of you and see if there's a part of you that's like, I don't trust this connection. I don't trust them. I feel like they're going to be with someone else. Why are they choosing someone else over me? And so forth, because it affects it. It makes it really hard for the person to leave their situation. So that's what happened to me. But everything is puzzle. I call it like puzzle pieces. Everything is like working together. And so it's not like it's one thing that's creating this. The universe is just smart like that, where it's like several things that are going on. So, you know, don't blame yourself. I had a lot of learning to do. And when I couldn't let go of this person, I knew there was more. I knew there was more. And when detachment came, I was just like, wow. And through my own experience, I can say this. If you're not currently with your twin flame, there's something more to be learned on either side, you or this person or both, because you share the same soul. I cannot tell you what it is. You are not going to figure out what it is. It gets revealed to you, okay? When the time is ready, when you're willing to learn, when you're allowing it to get revealed to you. And that's what happened to me. And I was like, you know what? Now I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm finally not going anywhere. And I'm open to learning. And I just simply became open. I fully surrendered. And I said, you know, the universe feels as though we're not quite there yet. Okay? I was sensing that. The universe feels that. But I was okay with that. I was okay with that. I was at peace. Because they can see it. They can see it. And I began to learn how to be still. I began to learn how to stop looking somewhere else and truly connect within. I learned so many other things too, and so on, and changed my life. Completely changed my life. Okay? And then reunion began to take form. And I'll explain that in the next video.